Oh my god, like we haven't seen each other in a really long time. First of all, before I get into this video, I'm really sorry. My living situation is weird. I noticed people, I don't know if there's like this cry for people that have been wanting me to keep making videos on this channel. But if you've been wondering like why I make videos for my channel and not for trans youth, it's usually just because I literally, first of all, if you watch my channel, you know my videos are very long and I always have something to talk about. And I usually forget to make videos for the trans youth channel first, and I don't really remember until I see something on Facebook about it, but then it's a matter of me just finding an opportunity. So now I figure I could, you know, I've got a moment, nothing else to talk about. I just made a 44-minute video for my YouTube channel, and it is Sunday, so that is technically my day on the trans youth channel. So I'm really sorry, super sorry. I apologize, super apologize. I know people are probably annoyed by me, but yeah. So I haven't had a chance to watch everyone's video, but I have watched most of Samantha's. And I actually have a video on my channel that I will probably link to in the description bar. I'm just basically going to repeat what I say in that video. Now, I can only truly respond to what I have experienced in terms of depression and how I've kind of overcome it. So bear with me. I don't think that I was ever clinically depressed, but I definitely went through a lot of depression. There was a lot of darkness in my life for a very long time. A lot of darkness. I have memories as a child, locking myself in the closet, yelling, screaming, cutting myself, all that stuff. You know, because I was just, something was wrong with me and I didn't really know what it was. You know, I felt very abnormal, and I always felt that way. I always felt very out of place, very inferior, you know, just very uncomfortable, you know, and I think that there's just a lot of things that attribute to that. I mean, it's not just me being a trans woman, it's also the fact that I'm African American. And I've had a father who is constantly, you know, pounded into my head that African Americans are treated a certain type of way. You know, so I go into the world thinking, you know, that I am almost in a way inferior. And I do have a lot of still lingering insecurities from that whole thought process. But when it came to trans stuff, I was very depressed for a very long time. Because of trans shit. I mean, and the way that I personally dealt with my depression was sex, you know, and that was just a very dark period of my life. You know, I really didn't respect myself. I didn't love myself, and I put myself in a lot of situations where, you know, I was just setting myself up to fail. I was setting myself up to not succeed. I was setting myself up to be punished, you know, the way that I thought that I was supposed to be. You know, being transgendered is hard. You know, let's not make any qualms about it. You know, being trans, you go through some things that, you know, if you were a cisgendered woman or man, you would never have to go through. And I think that the weight of a lot of those things can cause you to be depressed. It can cause you to be very defeated, you know, and feel like you have to do certain things that you don't want to do in order to make a living, in order to get by. But my transition really took a turn for the better when I decided that I was going to grab those things by the balls and yank on them. You know, I decided that I was going to not take it anymore. I was going to write my own destiny. I was going to be the one who controlled where the hell I went, you know, in 5 years. And there are still some things in my life, in my transition, that I can't control. You know, I'm going through a process of changing my gender right now. I've been trans for the past 5 years of my life. It's ridiculous that I'm still going through, having to get legally recognized as female, but it is what it is. I can't control the way the law works, but I can, make sure that I'm on my shit, because to be honest with you, for me personally, I was so depressed and so defeated about being trans that I wasn't even confident enough to go to the Gay Lesbian Center and get the resources that I needed in order to change my name and my gender marker. I was too afraid. I was terrified. I was uncomfortable. I didn't even know if I was sure, that I wanted that for my life. There's a lot of different things that went on in my head. But, at a certain point, I just realized, what, I've got to do this. I can't be defeated. And I guess the thing that I really want to get across in this video is, even though it's really helpful as trans people to look at other trans people and see how their lives have gone, don't live your life expecting to go through the same trials and tribulations that one girl went through. I think when I started my transition, I paid attention to a lot of older transitioners. And the truth of the matter is that transitioning 20 years ago is very different from transitioning now. Very different. There's some things that are very much similar, but there are a lot of differences. And I know I've heard a lot of terrible stories, horror stories. I've watched a lot of documentaries that are basically just long descriptions of horror stories of things that happened when they transitioned, and in my transition, I have not faced those things. So don't get married to one person's narrative. Don't get married to this idea, the struggle that one person went through. At the end of the day, you can write your own destiny. You do make the decision over where you go. There are things you can't control, but you can manage them. You can do what you need to do in order to overcome certain things. You shouldn't allow that to just completely make you paralyzed. It shouldn't paralyze you. You should be able to overcome that stuff and be able to pursue with confidence and boldness the things that you need to do in your life. I could have had my name changed, years ago, years before I actually got it done. I could have had my gender marker changed before, but I was way too afraid. I was way too insecure about it. I was way too insecure about it, and I regret it. I regret it to this day because it really, really, really prevented me from doing a lot of things. My transition could be so much further than it already is, had I made that conscious decision to pursue what I needed to do. Because I was so depressed and so down on myself that it was paralyzing. But I realized, I think I sat down one day and I was like, I don't want to be doing this when I'm 30. I don't want to be still living with a boy name, male gender, still have to go through this shit. Because you never even know, like maybe in 20 years things might change, the laws and stuff. In California, it's very easy for trans women to transition, but, who knows in a couple of years. So, just get on it. One of the things I talked about in my video, and I don't want to get too much on this because I think this topic seems like it's more along the lines of clinical depression, which, as Samantha said, and I will affirm, we cannot help you with. If you have clinical depression, that's really not something that we can help with. One of the main things that I said in that video is that a lot of trans women have victims complexes. A lot of trans men, I don't know about men, but a lot of trans people, they have victims complexes. And so they walk through the world expecting for them to treat them a certain way because they're trans. And so they prevent themselves from doing certain things, going certain places, because they think that the world is going to judge them terribly because they're transgendered. And I still have that sometimes. I will admit that I still sometimes think that the world is treating me terribly because I'm transgendered. But the thing that I learned really quickly is that's not always the case. You know, you can't blame everything on being trans. You know, sometimes you're just a terrible person. You know, has nothing to do with your gender identity. Sometimes you're just a terrible, terrible person and no one can tolerate you. It has nothing to do with you being transgendered, you know. Um, I guess for me, it really helped me to get rid of my victim's complex, to realize that, you know what, because I guess like one of the things that, I think my mom said this to me at one point, but she said like, no one's looking at you. You know, no one cares. People are too concerned with all of the issues that are going on in their own lives to really look at you and think too much about it. You know, people are buzzing around, worried about what they're doing and all the shit that they've got to take care of. They're too busy to worry about you. They're too busy to spend their time and energy on you. That's not always true in a lot of cases, but you know, I remember like one of the things that prevented me from beginning my transition was, you know, I was terrified of going out in public dressed as a woman and being harassed. You know, and I learned very quickly that, um, you know, that wasn't going to be the case. You know, and I just had to get a little bit of confidence. So I don't know if this video is going to be any helpful, so I'm going to stop right now. I'm terribly sorry. I'm going to try to make more of an effort to make videos for you guys. I sincerely apologize. My latest situation is crazy. People are in and out. My boy, wow, it's a weird Freudian slip. My brother hasn't walked through in this video, but he tends to jump out of his room during almost every one of my videos. So anyway, hope that was somewhat helpful. I don't know if it was necessarily the answer that you guys were looking for, but that's how I overcame a lot of my depression. It's just recognizing that I'm not a victim, recognizing that I can make my own destiny. You know, I don't have to be like, you know, Susan, you know, who transitioned 20 years ago and now works as a professional dominatrix. You know, I don't have to be like that. I could be like Janet Mock. I can be like Laverne Cox. You know, I could do things that aren't, I can do things outside of perhaps what is the normal expectation of a trans woman. So I'm going to go. So I hope this was helpful. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.